everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Munosi, also known as Munosi It's Vegan. Today I'm going to be reviewing a recipe by Bosch. They were inspired by Gordon Ramsay, who made fish and chips in 10 minutes. So they were aiming to make vegan fish and chips in 10 minutes. This recipe needed self-raising flour, which I don't buy, I don't use, I don't have. I'm gonna make my own self-raising flour, and then you make a beer batter. And I coincidentally had bottle of bubbles, some Cap Classique over here that's already open, which is perfect because you get the bubbles, you also get the flavor similar to that you would get of beer, not as strong. And if you don't want alcohol in this, you can substitute that for soda water, sparkling water. Make sure it's cold, it makes for a better batter. I'm not going to attempt to make this in 10 minutes like they did. I'm not going to stress myself out like that. That's not how I cook. It takes however long it takes. And then I'm going to make some chips too, but the South African way. So let's begin. I'm about to marinate the tofu. Now I usually buy soft tofu. What I did to this is that I pressed it and rested it in the fridge overnight so it hardens, and I have to score it like this so the marinade can seep in. The marinade calls for white wine, lemon juice, caper brine, and some salt. And then I'm gonna leave this tofu in here to marinate. Tofu needs to be marinated or seasoned because it's very bland on its own. Most people who don't like tofu, I believe, don't know how to prepare it. It's important to marinate it if you can. I love tofu even plain, but this, you have to marinate tofu if you have tried tofu and don't like it. So I'm going to leave this for 30 minutes before I can continue with the recipe. Now let's make some self-raising flour. To get self-raising flour, you need, there's a ratio that you can adjust for every recipe you use. For every 1 cup of flour, you're gonna add a teaspoon, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and you whisk that together. Let me get a whisk, and there you have your self-raising flour. Now the fishy taste you're gonna get from some nori sheets, which I bought these, and then I put them in a small food processor and blended them up so you get this. This is what you're gonna add to your batter. The tofu that's been marinated. After I marinated it, I added some of that ground nori sheets. While you mix the batter together, you can preheat your oil. For this recipe, it's shallow frying, which is great instead of deep frying the tofu. Ooh, that's the bottle of bubbles. Cap Classique, by the way, is South Africa's version of champagne, and this one is vegan too. See, the stamp is there. I bought this one from Checkers. Very inexpensive. Now, when I cook, I do not follow recipes to the T. I like to watch videos. Where this recipe, I got it from a YouTube video, and then I improvise from there. That's just how I cook. Don't do it like I do it, because you do sometimes mess the recipe up. So don't try this at home. So I'm going to start with the self-raising flour that we made. Add that to this bowl, and to that I'm going to add, they added some more baking powder to the self-raising flour to give it more power to rise. So that's what I'm going to do. That was like a quarter of a teaspoon. Let me adjust y'all so you can. So I added that, and then we're going to add some curry powder. I'm using a hot one because I like my food very spicy. Spicy girl who likes spicy food. And then we're going to add the ground nori. Oops, I might have added a lot, but it's fine. All the fishy flavor we can get necessary. And then I'm gonna start adding my bubbles. My trick to adding liquids to dry is to always remember that you can always add more, but you can never take out. So add bits by bit and continue and whisk it together. The texture you're trying to achieve here is like as thick as pancake batter, because you want it thick. You want it to coat your tofu beautifully. And what the acidity from the champagne, the bottle of bubbles, the capital sick, is gonna do is also make it light and crispy, help with making it light and crispy. That's why I say you substitute with soda water. They have it nice and thick, and as you can see the nori throughout. You can already smell the nori smelling very fishy. I think it might be a bit too thick, and I'm out of my bubbles, so I might add just a drop of water. I'm adding a bit of water because it's too thick and I've run out of my bubbles. And this is what I mean by adjusting recipes to suit you, because sometimes you don't have things, and as I was taught in culinary school, my lecturer used to say recipes are guidelines. So when you can adjust it to suit you, do so. Especially when cooking. With baking, it's a whole other story. With cooking, you can adjust things however you need to adjust them, and fingers crossed and hope and pray they work out, which they usually do work out for the best. And now here's the thing about coating things with batter. What you always need to remember is wet will not stick to wet, so you need dry. So what's left over of that self-raising flour, I'm gonna put it on a flat dish, and then we're gonna coat this tofu firstly in the flour, so the dry can stick to the wet. I think the oil is ready now. Now we're gonna start dipping the marinated tofu in the flour, the dry flour. Coat it all around because we want the batter to stick on real good, so we get it crispy, and then it goes into the thick, very thick batter. As you can see, it's nice and coated. If it were my recipe, I would have seasoned the batter too with salt, but let me trust the Bosch boys and trust that they know what they're doing. Out of the batter. And now when you drop things in the oil, make sure you drop it away from yourself. There we go. Around. You can hear the crisp already. Flip it around. Oh, look at that color. It looks beautiful. It's the sound. Crispy. Definitely delivering on the crisp factors. Comment down below and tell me if you have had vegan fish and chips and what was your verdict. Even if you're not vegan, would you try this? Let me get rid of the excess pieces of the batter that dripped into the oil, because if you don't, they will burn quicker when you put your next batch in. So, now let's talk slab chips. We South Africans love it, what most people would call soggy, but which slap is a word from the Afrikaans language, which means sleep. So yes, the chips are sleeping and not crispy and awake, but that's how we love them, especially with fish. I'm slicing them up a bit thick because that's how you manage to achieve the sogginess. Drop this in some oil. Now let's add the chips into the heated up oil, nice and hot. Because we're making slab chips, you don't have to worry about overcrowding the pan. It's actually a good thing to overcrowd the pan because it stops them from browning too quickly and in turn making them crispy. So we're doing the opposite of what you know about frying chips. It's okay to crowd the pan. Now for the tartar sauce, we need vegan mayo. I'm using this mayonnaise that I get from Checkers. Then we're going to use some parsley, onion, and the pickles with the sauce. Then I'm going to add some lemon to the mayo too. Bosch also uses cream fish, which I don't know where to find here in South Africa. And then we're going to add some capers too. Almost forgot the capers. Open this. So what I learned in school, what my lecturer used to say is, in the kitchen you have a cutter or a burner, which means that it's either you cut yourself usually or you burn yourself usually. Now I am a burner. I have scars all over my hands and arms from burning, but knock on wood, I don't usually cut myself. Now let's mix these together, the mayonnaise, all of the goodies. Okay, maybe I chopped up a lot of them. Some capers, let me chop them up too. I'm gonna get a few because capers have quite a strong flavor. Let me get my chips out the pan before they burn. When you fry things, make sure to season them immediately after they get out of the pan, because then they're nice and oily and the salt can coat them perfectly. I'm using chips seasoning. Okay. I'm gonna add that to my chips. You gotta be generous with this. It's not too salty. Packs a lot of flavor. And I'm gonna set them aside. Oh, nearly forgot the capers again. Let me chop them up. Can't remember what a caper tastes like. Let me take. Oh, salty, briny. Not that nice on its own, but probably add something to the sauce. Add that in. Mix, mix, mix. And there I have my tartar sauce minus the creme fraiche. Let me taste that. Does it need lemon? I think so. So I'm going to squeeze in some lemon juice to brighten it up again. Pretty good. Let's clean this up and serve our food. Get a clean plate. We're gonna serve this. We have the tofu fish first up, and then my slab chips. You see what I said when I meant soggy? The South African way, slab chips. Some of that on the plate, and the tartar sauce. Let me put that on the side. And then I'm gonna drizzle some vinegar on the chips. A little bit of drizzle on the chips. Let's taste. It does miss salt, even though I seasoned over the top. And it's not very fishy. It's missing a bit of the fish flavor, but it tastes good. What I would change though, because I made my own self-raising flour, that could be the reason. It's very, I don't know how to describe it, you know, when it's a bit soapy, you could say soapy, because I did it like they did on the recipe, added more baking powder. I probably would have used 1 teaspoon of baking powder. That's my tip, but it does taste good. I would make it again with those adjustments and maybe marinate it longer with the nori sheets. And another trick that I know you can also do is put nori sheets directly on the tofu, so it acts like fish skin, so you have the fishy flavor throughout. And add a lot more salt in that seasoning to season it up properly. But it does deliver on the crispy exterior that they promised. It's very good. And that's what my channel is all about. I'm going to show you the mistakes that I make. I'm going to make them together. And then I'm going to teach you how to correct the mistakes if I make them, and then we're going to rate the recipe. So my verdict on the recipe: a very good recipe, easy to execute. Remember all the substitutes I taught you. Buying self-raising flour might be a good idea for this recipe, and there's a lot of recipes that call for self-raising flour, so you will be able to use it again. Baking, other goods, but I think 1 teaspoon would work of the flour. I would rate this recipe a 6 out of 10. It's above average but not quite there, as I'm not fooling my mind that I'm eating fish. It lacks a bit of the fishy flavor. Hence I said I would marinate it overnight with the nori. Use nori sheets as skin to drive that fishy flavor. The texture is amazing of the tofu that I pressed. I love it. The tartar sauce, delicious. We'll link the Bosch recipe down below. Hope you check it out for all the measurements and try it for yourself. And come back to my channel and tell me how it went. And if you use any of my tricks, tell me how that went. Thank you for watching this. Come back next time as we rate another maybe recipe, maybe we will be rating a vegan product that we find here in South Africa. Will it be good? Will it not be good? We shall see. Thank you for coming through. Bye.